Right, Matt, it is the moment we've all been waiting for. There is a $50,000 title on the line. The Rock will come out from South Beach all the way to NYC for MSG, the BMF title between Jorge Masvidal and Nate Diaz. How many three-letter acronyms can I put together to describe this fight? Matt, in our main and our co-main, we're doing 5 minutes now. You, the fans, asked for it. We will partake. So we get a chance to go really in depth on this one. First thing I want to bring up is the fact that this fight almost fell apart. And as you can see on the screen, all sorts of tweets from Brett Okamoto on Nate Diaz. But walk us through this a little bit, because USADA, the UFC, there was a chance that in the past 2 weeks that this fight wasn't going to happen.
So I'm sure we'll get more into this at some point, but just to go over everything, Nate Diaz, USADA told Nate Diaz that he had failed a test, but they didn't know they didn't really know the situation around it until after the fight. So he basically said, that's neat and all, I don't want something coming out after we fight. I'm just going to break all this news right now. Baller move by Nate Diaz. So he he took a picture, sent to the public everything that USADA had sent him, said, I'm clean, and a lot of choice words. And then as we can see from the tweets by Brett Okamoto here, basically all Nate Diaz eats is whole foods and natural vitamins, which if you don't want to get caught doing steroids, that's what you should do. And it turns out that he turned everything in. It turns out that it was a tainted, organic, vegan-based plant multivitamin. It's a very California thing. And Nate's clear of all wrongdoing. So the fight's still on.
I mean, the Terminator's a vegan. Remember that.
The Terminator's a vegan. So the fight's still going on. We're still going to find out who the baddest MFer is on Saturday. And it's going to be a phenomenal fight.
This is awesome because this is one of the first times, yes, it's a title, but this is one of the first pay-per-views that hasn't had an official, real title. Since that means a whole hell of a lot. Since UFC 202, like Matt said. And who was in that main event? Nate Diaz. And UFC 202, UFC 196, or sorry, not 196.
UFC 196.
Yeah, UFC 196.
UFC 183.
Two of the biggest pay-per-views, though, is what I was trying to say, along with 229. And obviously, Nate Diaz has that drawing power. So does Jorge Masvidal. He's become a pop culture hero. We've seen him on ESPN shows. We've seen him all over the place. Of course, you can see his hair here now. They've actually put a decent picture of him, not one when he had short hair. And it's weird because before Jorge Masvidal went away and did a Spanish language TV show for about a year,
became a superstar.
He wasn't a big draw per se.
I don't know if I'd go that far. He tried to do the Colby Covington before Colby Covington did. A lot of people will probably remember his fight against Cowboy Cerrone.
Yeah.
And they were fighting in Denver, and he knew, I'm not going to be the hero fighting this guy in his hometown, so let's go as hard as I can being the heel. And that's what he did. And it worked out phenomenally for him. He won by knockout, and it really put him into the top of the division all of a sudden. Then Damian Maia beat him, and then Wonderboy beat him, and then he went away and did that show, as you said. But ever since he's come back, if Jorge Masvidal follows the game plans that he's been given, like in his last two fights, I don't know. He might be the welterweight champion by the end of next year. He's very good at doing exactly what he's told. The trickery that he showed against Darren Till, the toughness he showed against Darren Till, the trickery he showed against Ben Askren, where he put his hands behind his back, ran. I'm sure you guys have seen the highlights a million times. I know I have. It's going to be a phenomenal fight. But when it comes to the X's and O's of it, and I'm going to ask you this, do you think Jorge Masvidal has enough power to knock out Nate Diaz? And also, does Jorge Masvidal move his feet enough to stay out of the range of the volume that Nate Diaz is going to throw at him?
Well, let's look at Nate Diaz. And Matt, we've talked about this a lot. You look at his body of work, and you have to go back to 2013, the last time he got knocked out by Josh Thompson. So it's been a really, really long time since then. And yes, Jorge Masvidal, you look at the record, I mean, knocked out Jake Ellenberger, knocked out Cerrone, knocked out Till, knocked out Askren. Jake Ellenberger, Donald Cerrone, okay, but Darren Till, Ben Askren.
Cerrone at that time, didn't go on his losing streak.
Still means quite a bit for Masvidal. We wouldn't be talking about it if we didn't have a fight like this. So all really big deal. And for Nate Diaz, it's really tough to go through his whole career and his body of work and try and judge this fight based on that, because he was away for a long time after the second Conor fight. He comes in, he fights Anthony Pettis, and just looked phenomenal. Looked like he didn't miss a step. Was cardio an issue in that fight?
It was to a certain extent. It was very odd, but he came out and he said, I'm just used to doing 5-round fights. I didn't really know how hard to train for.
Who would you prefer in a 5-round fight between Masvidal and Diaz, which we have here?
That's not a question at all. Nate Diaz beats him in a 5-round fight. I would assume, if I didn't see his last fight. He looks like he did pack on quite a bit more mass, so he is an actual welterweight now. He's not just a lightweight who's been fighting at welterweight. And Jorge Masvidal can say the same thing. Like, they both adjusted to the weight class quite well. I think Jorge Masvidal has the power to knock him out. I think Jorge Masvidal can probably take him down and be safe enough on the ground to not get submitted. The thing I'm starting to think, though, is if Masvidal starts eating shots, just kind of accepting it, and if he gets put up against the cage, Nate Diaz could win not by knockout, but just by TKO due to the amount of volume that he's going to throw at Masvidal. And that it's really hard to tell who's going to win this fight.
If Masvidal can incorporate some sort of leg kick and hit that lead leg of Nate Diaz, he's so heavy on it. Multiple fighters have had success doing that. Even McGregor at one point had a lot of success doing that. So as far as the odds are concerned, Matt, if we just get into it quick with our picks, Masvidal minus 170 favorite, Nate Diaz plus 130. Matt, I'm going to give my pick to start. I'm going underdog here. I'm going to take Nate Diaz. I think it's just going to be an accumulation of strikes. I would prefer, or I definitely, prefer Nate Diaz's wrestling over Masvidal's. I think he's going to be able to get it done. Whether it's by finish, I don't think we'll see that. I think it's going to be a decision, but I much prefer Nate Diaz in a 5-round fight here because Masvidal's lately, it's just that kind of pressure. Who are you going to go with?
So Jorge Masvidal's fought Damian Maia and had Damian Maia on his back and didn't get submitted. So I don't think Nate Diaz is going to be able to submit him just the traditional way. He might be able to catch him in some sort of scramble or whatnot, but I don't see him going for a double leg, getting to his back eventually, and then choking him out. I just don't see that. And people forget, Jorge Masvidal choked out Michael Chiesa with a Darce choke. That's absurd if you know anything about MMA and just how good of a grappler Michael Chiesa is. So I do think Masvidal's safe enough to play on the ground with Nate Diaz. I think on the feet, Masvidal definitely has more power between the two, but I just don't know if he has enough movement to get it done and to avoid a lot of the shots of Nate Diaz. I'm going to pick Jorge Masvidal. I think he's going to be able to drop Nate Diaz and damage him enough so that the cardio won't be as much of a factor in that 4th and 5th round. So we're going to pick Jorge Masvidal by split decision. So it's going to be a close fight.
Matt kind of picking that the judges are going to disagree here.
Exactly.
That's kind of whack. But UFC 244, our BMF title main event. You're not going to want to miss our 2-minute predictions here on YouTube, as well as our full episode of This Week in MMA, the podcast. Make sure you check those out. Fight Night picks. Let's get into it.